understand what is required at this moment, what is not, evaluate them, and if you have your pros more than your cons, and I would, and if, even if there is say about one con of it, but you have like about four pros, I think you should go for that, because cons will always be there. When you have a pro, you will always have a con for it. It's always the two sides of the coin.
Great, lovely. Ashwin, your thoughts on this? Like, you have been working with very large tech companies and also with startups. So there's a clear difference in the benefits and the paychecks. Maybe, what do you think? Like, on both sides, what do you think employees are being loyal to organization? Why are they loyal, and like what keeps them interested?
Yeah, yeah, Sarvashit. I think with regards to yeah, I think gone are the days when people are just married to their paychecks or hefty titles. I think what people really value today is the complete package in terms of employment, right?
Hmm.
So what it brings us to kind of is a topic around employee value proposition, right? I mean, when you uh, look at a company, you kind of look at that company in its entirety in terms of who does it serve, what are its products,
Hmm.
where do people come in and add value, what are their values, right? Owing to what Uzair said a little while ago in terms of what's the company culture like, what are the values that they kind of hold true.
Hmm.
uh, People really look at some of those aspects, and most importantly, it's not just important to kind of say, okay, this is what our culture is or these are our values and ideals, but it's important to walk the talk, right?
Hmm.
More often than not, companies which are able to walk the talk and stay true to what they really believe are able to kind of not just attract great talent but also retain them on the longer term, right? I think so. That's essential. What we're also seeing is with this growth right now, I think if you look at the spurt of GCCs in India and also look at the number of tech companies that are swimming all over, right, from
Hmm.
indigenous startups to GCCs being set up here to large corporations, I think they are in this mad rush to kind of go after top talent. And with that, I think there is a lot of dependency on individuals to keep performing and doing their best. So I think there is a lot of burnout as well, right? So how are organizations looking at some of these things when it comes to employee well-being and addressing this whole burnout issue? If they are able to kind of do that in a compelling way, they are able to kind of provide enough value to their employees, is what I believe. So I think there are perks that are kind of being offered right now, which involve wellness benefits, right? And also not just that. I think it's also about not external wellness benefits, but also an internal environment where you're able to create psychological safety for your employees while they're working inside the confines of the office or in the office environment, right?
Hmm.
And are catering to their mental well-being as well. So I think these are things that really go beyond paychecks and perks, I would say.
Also, I think learning opportunities inside or can also be one of the things. Like a few of the HR folks which I interviewed have also told that learning and development opportunities inside, growing inside, as in like becoming the next level. Say a Python developer, also understanding how mobile apps are developed, and then people shifted inside. So, do you think that also maybe it's one of the things which keep them loyal, so that they can learn every day on the job?
Oh yes, I think it's a part of the job enrichment journey, right? Or talent enrichment journey. So I think if organizations are able to kind of create a way for employees to uh, you know learn on the job and even provide external platforms to them to kind of elevate their overall technical expertise or leadership expertise. I think these are organizations which will definitely have a competitive advantage, right, in terms of enabling and basically retaining people, right? So
Okay. Yeah, I come to a very tricky question, Ashwin. So I'll start with you on this. Rehiring former employees. Rehiring former employees is gaining popularity, right? And what's your take on this? Is it kind of an advantage or a sign of failure to retain talent, or How do you look at it?
No, I think it's a huge advantage, Sarvajit. I think rehiring former employees has always been there. I don't think so. This is a new phenomenon. Uh, you know, Companies that have been hiring in the ecosystem out here, at least in the tech ecosystem, have always kind of shown that as a metric. What are the number of boomerang hires that they've always had that
Boomerang,
have
yeah.
come back into the companies, right? I think it's a good metric to track, and it also kind of talks about why employees who've left you want to really come back and then rejoin the company, right? I mean, it's basically a testament of the great work culture, the work environment that the former employer provided to them, right? So I think I would say it's very positive. I would look at it very, very positive.
Okay. Okay. Uzair, what about you? Do you think rehiring employees is a sign of a great, good sign, or not a good sign to you cannot retain talent and there?
So I totally agree with Ashwin. It
Mm,
is actually an advantage to rehire your old folks back because they are familiar with your organization culture that you have.
mm,
Plus, they come back with enhanced skill sets that they've gone with.
mm,
Plus, they also come with a fresh perspective in life. Like, they were working what they had. So now they have a different perspective altogether
mm,
when they come back. So I would actually go with Ashwin. Like, it is an advantage to get your older folks back to the organization. Like, he also said that the matrix in today's days says that this is a very high rate and it's trending in today's ecosystem, that bring back your older folks. And a lot of these
yeah.
organizations do, which go through a transition and which revive back, which every organization once in 5 years, once in 3 years goes through.
Mm,
They The first strategy that they apply is rehiring old folks back again.
yeah. And this is becoming a trend right now. I think a lot
Yes.
of companies are doing it. And the earlier stages, there was acrimony between the employees who have left and the bosses
Correct.
who are still there. And right now, it's pretty open, and it's also a good testimony to your employer brand, which can
Exactly.
bring back people who have left you. Right? Great. Uh, Uzair, so with so many KPIs available, what's the single most metric which you think is the most important for understanding retention? So, according to you or other folks who you have worked with in your network, what is the single most metric for understanding retention with so many KPIs which are there in the market?
So simple, and the single thing I would say that I usually apply and I've been applying is your employee engagement.
Okay,
High engagement often correlates with retention, indicates
okay,
the satisfaction to the organization. So if you really get to know when the person is being active and participating, you will know the satisfaction level of the person. So I would say the simplest and easiest way that I've been applying, and I will always keep doing unless I find something which is more easier to correlate, is engagement. High level of employee engagement is the best satisfaction that you will be able to understand whether the person is with the company, to the company, or he's fully satisfied or not. So it correlates with your retention works.
great. And Ashwin, what about you? Like, Uzair has talked about high employee engagement, how they are behaving, how they are participating in events or other smaller events, internal events also. So, what do you think? What is the single most metric for understanding retention?
Totally, I think I second that. I completely agree with Uzair. Employee engagement is a metric that you know most organizations track. We also track it. And then most organizations have this annual ritual or a biannual ritual of conducting employee surveys. And that's a single metric that kind of tells you, hey, how are you doing as an organization when it comes to understanding retention, right? But then there are other things. And I think, when we look at the modern day talent management systems in correlation or in combination with this metric around talent engagement, you
Hmm.
could look at things like, hey, what does your voluntary turnover look like? How many people leave you voluntarily, right, for better opportunities outside, right?
Okay.
What does your, I mean, there are some companies that even track a net promoter score when it comes to an employee's perception of the workplace, right? And then yeah, and a high net promoter score obviously aids better retention. Uh, you know, And I think there are multiple other data sets which are available in the market, which kind of give you a sense of, hey, where do you stand when it comes to your ability to stay attractive to your existing employees and also employees who are coming into the organization.
Great, great. So we come to the end of the main questions. We have a lot of audience questions. A couple of questions we have selected for you. Anybody and or both of you can answer it. Okay. So let's start with Rahul asks, how can small companies compete with industry giants in both attracting and retaining top talent? This has been a very pertinent question. So, smaller startups, how will they attract with for similar talent with industry giants, given they don't have that much of like employer brand which they have created? So, what do you think, Uzair and Ashwin, who wants to take it first, and like your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't mind taking it first, Uzair, with your permission.
Please go ahead.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think it's a great question because I think right now if you look at the number of startups which are mushrooming in the Indian ecosystem, I think it's a great question, right? So I would say it's important that the company that is really looking to acquire top talent stays or has a very strong focus on the company culture. So it's important that they articulate what they stand for, right? I mean, what are the values that the company has? And that's a simple thing. I mean, you don't need tons of dollars to kind of articulate who you are, what you stand for, what are your ethos, what is your culture essentially, right? And the second thing I would say is when early founders or early members of the organization are open and authentic, right? I think there is a great receptivity when the incoming talent kind of looks at the openness, the authenticity, and transparency, most essentially, right? I think these are things which stick, right? And then people, when they start working in an environment which is so convivial and enabling, there is a sense of psychological safety that builds in. So you're able to attract better talent. Right?
Yeah.
And then there are other things, like for instance, you might be a startup which is just figuring out your MVP, or a startup which is in this 10 to 100 journey or 100 to 1000 journey. It's very important that there is a strong focus on the end user and customer, because that also has an internal, it kind of reflects internally in terms of how your employees look at that as a thing for that they need to kind of enable for the product to be successful in the market, right? I think these are important things. And most essentially, as a company, whether you're building a product or a service, it's important that you start differentiating early in terms of what are some of your strengths, and what do you kind of differ on when it comes to some of the other competing products or services in the ecosystem.
Great. Uh, Uzair, your take on this?
So yeah, so I second what Ashwin says as well, but I also would like to put in the thought from the candidate perspective, and also from an HR perspective. Yes, small organizations have that flexibility to give you a personalized experience when you're coming into the organization. Experience can be molded for each hires that you do, so that and also emphasize on what impact will that person make in your organization will also help him to attract and retain top talent with in competing terms. And like also giving them that flexibility, work life balance. So in when you compare them with giants really, you're one in 100. When you
Yeah.
compare it with small organizations, you are one amongst those journey that the company is going to go through, and your each step will contribute to the journey. And I would say these are small things that probably I as a candidate would expect, and I, thinking from a company and organization perspective, would like to get this done to retain and attract top talent. Because it's, see, obviously, like he said, that there are people who would like to go for larger brands, job security, but how is it that we attract talent from there? And how do we build? Because we're equally competitive organization, but it takes time for us to build that. And that's how I would like to, as a founder, do it. And as a candidate, I would also in today's date want to be felt important, and also would like to uh, be that part who's going to create that impact, and be a part of history creation, I would say.
Great. And do you think also the roles and responsibilities in startups or like smaller companies, where they can break a lot of things, do a lot of stuff, things. But in larger companies, they have a protocol. They cannot go from A to B or B to C, just like that. In smaller companies, you are free to experiment, free to do things, and whichever sticks, we scale it up.
Correct.
So that also attracts a lot of people, right?
Correct. Work flexibility, I would also include that as well. Giving them the work flexibility so that they learn, they grow.
Great. I think Rahul got a very detailed answer from both of you. Vandana, next question from Vandana. How can companies identify employees at risk of leaving and intervene proactively?
Who's this question for?
Both, anyone can answer. It's for the
I'll take this up. So I think companies can use predictive analytics at this moment and have regular check-ins, check the engagement levels, identify the signs of disagreements, see whether they are taking proactive action against them or not. I would say these are the earlier proactive measures that you can take to identify whether the employee is at risk of leaving the organization or no. These are the few points that come to my mind upfront, I would say.
uh,
Um,
Ashwin, your take.
totally, totally. I think spot on was there. I think employee check-ins are important, and those check-ins need to be done in a you know in a certain rhythm, I would say, right? So I think all the check-ins, especially in the early days, right? When you have a employee coming on board, what's like the onboarding experience that they've got. So maybe a survey there to kind of sense whether or not their experience on the first day or the first few days was great. And again, your 30, 60, 90, 180-day check-ins with really well baked in questions put in there that give you insights on, hey, what's the general pulse on how they're experiencing the workplace, right? I think these are very important. And then, like as I said, predictive analytics, I think, baking all of that into uh, a score which tells you, hey, whether or not flight risk, right? So, yeah, I think completely agree with that.
Lovely. So we come to the next part, which is the candidate question. So these are the questions from our candidates or job seekers, which are there on the platform. And this is a question for both of you. Anybody can answer first. Okay, I'll ask the question. How can we, the job seekers, evaluate a company's retention culture before accepting an offer?
Okay. Uzair, with your permission?
Please, Ashwin.
Okay.
Please.
All right. So I think there is tons of data online, right? I think you have the likes of Glassdoor, Ambition Box that kind of have reviews. I must say, I think I think you have to sift through the reviews and make sure that you are making independent, intelligent call. But I would also recommend that anybody who's a active job seeker and wants to understand about the company, I think they should ask a lot of questions during the interview process, right? And
Okay.
even after that, I think they should do their due diligence and do a recce and talk to some of the employees who are working in that particular company to just understand, hey, what's the vibe like in the organization, right? So that'll give them a informed view on what's likely, right? Um, yeah, I think, and then there is enough and more information available on companies these days, right? On external forums. I think that's something that candidates and job seekers can use effectively to a good measure. Yeah.
Okay, so Ashwin has pointed out that reviews on Glassdoor, LinkedIn, and other external forums, the social forums, during interviews we need to ask a lot of questions and talk to employees which are there, the present employees. Uzair, what is your take on this? Like, what are the things which you want to say to our job
So
seekers?
I totally agree with what Ashwin has said. By before somebody accepts an offer, if the person likes to research about the company, there are a lot of research articles, your reviews. They can research it online, and also speak to a couple of folks from the organization or somebody from who's been a past employee of the organization. And plus, what they can do is ask a lot of questions during the interview, that what is the growth path looking like, what is the roadmap for me, what is my further growth in the organization looks like. That will help them to understand the mission of the company as well, how fast it is wanting to grow, or how at what pace it is wanting to grow. And the third thing is also understanding and listening how the interviewer or the company, probably communicates their values and cultures during the process of an interview or the discussion. How high they talk about their culture, how high they talk about their values, will also give you a sense that how strongly they are in belief of the organization, and what type of vibe or culture will you get in when you enter the organization. Because when you're entering an organization, it's not about you having your personal goals. Your goals need to be aligned with the organization. So it also makes you understand that how, if you're speaking to me, how high am I speaking about the organization and not about me. There's a difference between when I talk about the work that I am doing as a department folk or a department head, and how the organization is performing overall. That tells you a lot and lots in volumes about how high and how we love what we do, and how we are loyal to the organization, and our goals are in lines with the organization.
Great. I think job seekers got a lot of perspective on this. So we move to the next section, which is a very funny section which we have created. This is rapid fire round, and we have rapid fire for both of you, Ashwin and Uzair. So whoever wants to go first, you can tell me. I have the questions ready, and I will fire
I'll wait for Ashwin to go first.
it. Okay,
Right.
Ashwin, here comes the questions for you. Okay, shall we start?
Sure.
Sure. So, would you rather have an extra hour in a day, or be able to function without sleep?
I don't think so. I'd ever function without sleep. I think sleep is a superpower that we all need to kind of ensure that we have in our, in our daily lives, right? I think
Yeah.
it's very important. Yeah.
Okay, so extra hour on the day. So, if you could switch lives with anyone for a day, who would
Switch
it be?
switch.
Switch your lives. Yeah.
That's tough. I would say Yashasvi Jaiswal, the new,
Okay.
this new star.
Yeah. New star. Yes. Super strength or the ability to read minds.
I would say super strength. I don't want to read people's minds.
Okay. If you were a superhero, what would be your superpower? You can be any superhero, by the way.
Okay, so is it like, I have to talk about the superhero
No, no,
that I,
no. What will be a superpower? If you want to be a superhero, suppose I tell you you can be a superhero from today, what would you like take as a superpower?
okay, so I would say, maybe having multiple clones of
Okay.
me, being present in multiple places at the same time, multitasking,
You can be an office and a home and in say Manali at the same point of time, right?
Manali, and maybe my son's school, watching
Okay,
over him or whatever.
great. Dinner with a Bollywood celebrity. Who will it be? What's your pick?
Akshay Kumar, hands down.
Great. If you could have any animal as a pet, no restrictions, okay, what would it be?
I think I've always been a dog lover, so dog any day, provided I'm able to take good care of it. Yeah,
Great. Netflix binge or long drives? What would you like more?
I think long drives.
Long drives. Great. Thank you, Ashwin. That was the questions for you. Thank you for being such a sport. And I move on to Uzair's questions right now. So, Uzair, are you ready?
Yep.
Okay. If you could teleport to any place in the world right now, where would it be?
Singapore.
Great. If you could master any one skill instantly, what would it be?
I would master the art of calculation. I'm very weak
Mathematical
with
calculation.
mathematical calculations.
Mental maths. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Unlimited food for life or unlimited travel for life? Pick one.
Unlimited travel for life.
Great. If you could be invisible for a day, what would you do?
I would watch Bollywood movies the entire day.
Okay. If you could be president of a country for a day, which country would it be and what would you do?
I would be the president of India and remove the examination for all students. I hate this concept of exams and learning and going and giving your exams of what you've learned for the last 1 year and 1 day.
Okay. Pizza or pasta for every meal for a year?
Pizza.
Pizza. Okay. If you had to be stuck in an elevator with one famous person, whom would you pick?
One famous person. Obviously, at the moment, I would say my wife, but it were a celebrity, I would say Tripti Dimidi.
Okay.
To be
Great.
safe. I know my wife might be watching this, so that's why I said my wife first, and then if it's a Bollywood celebrity.
Great. Thank you, Uzair, for the lovely answers. Thank you for being such a sport. Ashwin and Uzair, thank you so much for joining me, and hope you liked it. We had a very free-flowing discussion about everything on talent acquisition and also on you. So that was it from the Inside Roundtable. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for taking time of your busy schedule and joining us.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Sabarjit. Thank you so much, Ashwin. It was nice conversing with you and knowing you as well, but I will surely keep in touch with you offline as well.
Absolutely, Uzair, Sabujit, and Jushay. I think it was wonderful, catching up and then chatting. I think it was a very free-flowing discussion, like you called out. I think very enjoyable as well. So thanks so much for curating this thing.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Risha. Thank you, Sabarjit. Thank you, sis.